Thank you for checking out my channel. I am going to be doing a special video called the Persona Award since I've been playing the Persona game, Persona 5 Royal, for about a year and a half. I decided to do like a video for it about awarding characters, different awards, saying my favorite characters, least favorite characters. The first part of this video, I'm going to be talking about the main characters, like the Phantom Thieves. And just to let you know, I do not consider Akechi to be a Phantom Thief. So I'm gonna get to that later. But anyway, the first part of the video is me talking about who my favorite Persona users are, who my least favorite Persona users are, and then there will be, well actually I'm just gonna go over all of them essentially. So I'm going over all characters who are Persona users just to judge them on how much I like them or not. So that's gonna be the first part of the video, and the awards for this section are Best Male Character, excluding Joker, Best Female Character, and Best Persona. So my favorite Persona in the game. This would encompass everyone's Persona, everyone's evolved Persona, and all Personas you can get in the game, like my favorite Persona. And then after that, the next section will primarily focus on confidants, because personally, I want to know, or I'm going to tell you who's my favorite confidant, and then I'm going to give awards out for that, the most helpful skill coming from a confidant, the best story, and the least favorite confidant, so the one that I didn't find as entertaining. And then the next section will be one of the bigger ones. It's going to be the villains. So the palaces and all of that, I'm going to do a section on that. And the ranking system that I'm going to be doing for this is something that I learned in high school. So let me see how I can explain this. The people or villains, the villains in the story will be ranked off of a system, kind of like with four different rankings, right? I'm gonna rank them twice in two categories. Let's say, for instance, let me give you an example. Let's just say Shido, right? I said Shido was, so I'm gonna be ranking Shido's motive for being evil, and I'm gonna be ranking the path he took to get there. So the first ranking, which is the highest ranking, is called Excellence. Excellence is saying, okay, I understand why you're bad. I would do the same thing, to be honest, and what you did was completely just. I do understand it, and I understand why you did it. There's a reasoning for that. I can explain it, things like that. There's effort. That means I understand why you did it. I can understand you. However, it's either the path you've taken to get there is kind of skeptical. So that's the second thing. That's the one below excellence. That's called effort. The third one is called motions. So that starts to say, well, I don't really know why you decided to be this way. And the way that you got there was kind of sketchy. I mean, you could be a good person if you would have just changed, but I mean, there's things that they could have done better. And the last one, being off track, is this. I don't know why you're evil. I think you're just being evil just to be evil. You are a sick person, and the path you take into that does not relate to who you are as a person. It could, because if that person's evil, but that's essentially going to be the last of the ranking systems. Lastly, I'm going to be talking just of an overview of the entire video and the game and everything, because this is my first time playing a game like Persona 5, where it's like a turn-based game. Like, okay, Pokemon is excluded, because this is the same thing, but there's more. It's like fighting in this game. It's kind of like Pokemon a little bit if I think about it. So I think this is not the first time I've been playing a game like this, but anyway, that's gonna be the last video. And if you want to stick around, I have a short little video. I would say it's about a minute long at the end of this video. So make sure you stick around and see that video if you want to see, but if not, that's okay. So first, I'm going to start off with the first part of the video, which is the persona users. Now, the first persona user I want to talk about is Joker. Since he doesn't really have a personality in the game, I've done a little extra homework and I've seen the anime. So what I think, well, Joker is like a quiet person, but he is kind of silly at sometimes. I would like him as a friend, but sometimes I don't think you can read Joker, and I don't think Joker acts as vulgar as anybody else. I think Joker is more mature for his age. I don't even know why people suspected him as being a criminal. I mean, if he's that quiet, like, and no one even mentioned the crime that he did. Everyone just said he's a criminal and left it at that. What if you got to a school and everyone saw you as a criminal, but no one knew what you did? We all know what happened, like with Shido, framed him for like assault because Shido was a little bitch. But Joker's a really cool person. I don't know why people were just hating on Joker, but I don't know. Joker, in my opinion, he's really cool. I like how he's able to get different personas and stuff like that. Joker as a character, I really do like how his story kind of fuses with all the other characters and confidants. But I do also like the fact that you could date multiple people, not in the cheating purpose, but I really like the fact that you can explore each time or each person of what if Joker or Rin Amamiya went out with this person. So I think that's a good arc for him. All in all, Joker is a good character. I give him a good rating. All right, and the next person on my list is Yusuke. So Yusuke Kitagawa, I think, is a great character. Him being an artist and him showing how you would struggle with being an artist in a world like this where the world is corrupt. And I did end up watching the anime and looking at his story, and I find out that Yusuke does have a lot of talent. It's just people around him uses him a lot. It's unfortunate what happened to his mom, where his mom had died, and then people have been using Yusuke's talents to just basically get more money, which shouldn't be the case, but it was. Yusuke, I think, is a person he's not vulgar, he's just hiding who he really is because he's so quiet and he tries to act cool. I think the difference between him and some of the other characters is he acts nice, but I think he pulls like a lot. I just don't see him because I don't see his personal life. And if you forget, Yusuke does go to a different school, so he can't really interact with everyone unless it's outside of school. So yeah, it's kind of bad what happened with him and Madarame. Madarame shouldn't have been plagiarizing Yusuke's work. He should have been doing his own thing. Yusuke as a character is very good. I would want Yusuke to be my friend. Like, Yusuke is a really cool person. And he does have some, trauma through his life, which is only cultivated by Madarame's, what's a word for that? It was cultivated by Madarame's greed, and Yusuke couldn't leave Madarame's side because he felt indebted to him. So, you know what? I'm going to get on that later, because most of the things I'm going to say is a part of what Madarame did as a bad person. So I'm going to go and talk about that later. All right, speaking of trauma, the next person I want to talk about is, I'll call her Sumire, because that's her actual name. Sumire as a character is good, just like Yusuke, and essentially, now that I'm thinking about it, everyone on this list is trauma-ridden, where she was traumatized at not even an early age. When she got to the school, it was, her sister had died, I think, shortly before she attended the school. So, and Maruki put her into Genjutsu and all of that, but she was so upset by the loss of her sister that she blamed herself, and she ended up going to Maruki for help and assuming the identity of Kasumi, because she couldn't deal with the loss of her sister, and she really wanted to be her sister because she blamed herself for her sister's death. I think if her sister didn't die, I don't really know about her attitude, because I think Sumire's attitude was the same before her sister died. It's just the trauma was added on to that, where she couldn't take it anymore. But I really do think that if her sister had died, if her sister hadn't died, and she did end up moving to Shujin High School, then she would have been happier. But it would have been weird because there's like two people who look exactly alike. Also, I'm wondering how people didn't hear about her death. Like, she was a twin in Tokyo that got hit in the street, who was a gymnast that was on the rise, and you're telling me no one from that extremely popular school, Shujin, heard about this? Yeah, no, I'm kind of skeptical about all this. Like, I don't know how anyone could have not figured out. So it was obvious, right? Anyway, Sumire, great person, great persona. She's like a ballerina. She really loves, not ballerina. She's a gymnast. She really loves to dance. She can eat a lot, but that's basically coming from a person. That's coming from a person, because I do eat a lot as well. But if you work off all that food, and it's because the thing is, she's doing gym routines all the time. So she's very devoted, and I think she is a great character. I would think her and Joker would be good together, but I'm gonna get onto that later. All right, and next up is Ryuji. Ryuji, I think, would be a great friend. I think Ryuji, if Ryuji is in Japan, I think Ryuji would be a great character in America, because I know they have different ways in Japan, but I think Ryuji would be a great character in America. Ryuji's a really cool person. You can tell he's trying to be friendly. He's just living in a school, or he's attending a school that essentially sucks. It's kind of like a student who attends like an Ivy League high school. He doesn't suck. He just doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to study. He's lost the drive. And I think as a character, well, he's a good character. He's motivated, but I think some of the things that he does, he just want to pick up chicks. He wanted to use the name of the Phantom Thieves as status or whatever. But I do think that he does mean to take out shitty adults, quote unquote shitty adults, and to change the world for the better. Because the trauma he received more than likely came from Kamoshida, which I will get to that later. But as a character, Ryuji's pretty good. I would want him to be my friend. Because one of the good things I like about Ryuji is that he always wants to make his family proud, and he wants to prove himself to people. He wants to make his mom proud, which is a very great thing to do, and I really like that about him. He's a good friend to Joker, a good friend to everyone else. He does get on people's nerves sometimes, but that's who he is as a person. Next person that's up for discussion is Haru. So, as a character, if I had attended Shujin High School, personally, I would have been Haru's friend. It seems like she's a great girl, but I don't know why people don't understand this, but the thing is, you're telling me that Haru can go to a school when her dad owns a multi-million-dollar company. Are you telling me that she doesn't go to a private school? You're telling me that a school that has to accept a quote-unquote convict can also accept a person who is the daughter of a multi-millionaire or possibly billionaire? I don't know. He owns a burger joint, but why isn't that unsafe? Like, I would assume he has enemies since he has a palace, but his daughter Haru goes to like basically a public school that can also house criminals, since they want to put me in the school for hitting or doing literally nothing to Shido. But enough on that. I'll get to that later. Haru as a person is good. I would love to like be her friend. She seems like a very kind person. Haru's persona. So I was watching the anime. I didn't know how to pronounce it, but is it Malady? But I always pronounce it as Milady, because that's what it sounds like. But Haru does have a good choice in a weapon, a melee weapon. It's just I don't understand why she would get an axe. The only thing that I would understand about that is that she likes to cut wood and do things on her own, and she doesn't want to just be seen as an Okumura like her dad. She wants to discover her own things, get her own coffee shop, and she wants to get out of her dad's shadow. And that takes some guts, especially, I would assume she inherited Okumura's fortune as well, so she doesn't have to worry about money. But I would assume, or I would want her to go to a different school, because I don't want her to go to Shujin High School where fucking there's people like Kamoshida there. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Haru. Now I'm gonna get on to a cat, this kitten, this absolute dickwad of a character. Personally, I don't like Morgana. I have a lot of reasons why I don't like Morgana. Morgana is essentially very impulsive. I know Ryuji is also impulsive, but Morgana is also impulsive too. Morgana really, I understand that Morgana doesn't know who he is and he wants to find out who this person is. At the same time, if Morgana is a cat, why is he trying to rizz up a human? And furthermore, the time when he ran away to make us jealous so that we can all go back to him, I'm like, the argument that started there, I know he was feeling useless, but that's no reason to just run off. We agreed to help, and you just started to run off anyway. This is mainly Ryuji's fault. I do blame him for that, but I just don't like Morgana. Morgana gets on my nerves like a lot, to be honest. Oh my god. His persona is pretty cool. He's a really great healer. He's good at battle. He has experience, but him as a character outside the metaverse, I mean, he's a good teacher. It's just, I mean, I don't like him. He's arrogant. To me, he's like very, very arrogant and very hostile in some situations. But that's all I gotta say about him. I don't like Morgana that much. Okay, now it's time to move on to Makoto. Makoto's character is, I mean, she has great development. Don't get me wrong. It's just her character is, kind of, I mean, like her her finding out who we are, joining us, and then just not telling on us. I mean, she was set up to be like an antagonist, not an antagonist, but like a spy that would she basically did the same thing Akechi did, but she actually meant to expose us. But when she found out who we were, she didn't tell, which is good, part of the game. But she extorted us to say, oh, change this person's heart, and guess what? I won't tell of your existence. Doesn't this sound familiar? Oh, it does. Akechi did the same exact thing. Only Akechi's story didn't end as well. Anyway, Makoto is a good character. Her backstory about her dad dying and her being raised by her sister, while also excelling in school, mind you, with only having her and her sister, is great. So Makoto's a good character. She is very heart-driven. She's, I would assume, the smartest person in the Phantom Thieves group, so that we won't make impulsive decisions. And the way she wanted to go up against bigger people like Kaneshiro, inspiring. I like it. Speaking of improvement, Futaba, I think, has the best improvement story in the game. Think about it. She starts out as a hermit who doesn't want to talk to people, and now she's working together with a group of thieves taking down big corporations. Like, just think about like the character development. And she didn't even have her heart changed. Well, I mean, her palace got destroyed, so she changed. I don't really know if that's attributed to it, but she has the best change in character throughout the game. She becomes less shy. She starts to go to school, and she's becoming more interactive, and she really wants to help people. And she also wants to pick up where her mother left off of cognitive research. I really don't have a lot to say about her since I don't really know a lot, but I did play through her story, and from what I can tell, she's a very caring and kind person. I would be Futaba's friend if she was in school. I think she would be a little bit annoying, but I mean, if she is, I won't. But if she isn't, I'll try to be friends with her. Now, Ann. Okay. She is like, to me, she is like, how can I put this? The female Morgana. Like, I can see why Morgana is attracted to her, because Morgana has bad taste. Like, Ann's whole story is that she was too attractive to be accepted by the popular girls, and she was also too attractive to be accepted by the unpopular girls. So she had no place to fit in. So apparently they're saying, oh, I have no one to talk to because I'm so beautiful, and everyone's just jealous. Secondly, if you read her bio, she says she's a quarter American. How does a quarter American make sense? If somebody was a quarter a Caucasian, right? That means I would assume, if they were a quarter Caucasian, that means one of their the mom had two parents, the dad had two parents. One of those four grandparents had to be from America. But that doesn't mean she's a quarter American. She can be a quarter Caucasian. That would mean one of her, I mean, it's probably either her dad or her mom, or no, her granddad or her dad was, her granddad or one of her granddad or grandmother would have been an American. And I would assume that one of her parents had to be half white, half Asian, to where she become, and then she had to marry, that half white, half Asian had to marry a full Asian to make a quarter American, which I don't really get the quarter American portion, but those are all the Phantom Thieves. So after consideration and careful consideration, I decree that the first award for my favorite Phantom Thief, excluding Joker, is Yusuke. Yusuke is like hard, to be honest. Yusuke can like get hard on a dime. Like, let me give you an example. There was a time where it's and plus he's out of pocket too, but I'm gonna get to that later. Yusuke is just like not really insulting. He has good clapbacks. He has good clapbacks, and it's just like he has a lot of good moments that I remember. The first moment that I remember with him was when Ann was like, "Oh, his dress is getting a little too tight," and then Yusuke was like, "Tight," and then I was like, "What you mean by tight?" And what do you think? Because I know what Ann was trying to say. And I'm like, what are you thinking about, Yusuke? And I like his persona design too. Not his actual persona, but his actual mask, and how he has an AK and a katana. Think about that. He has an AK. Okay, Morgana's would be kind of cool like that, but Morgana has a saber and a slingshot. What? Joker has a dagger and a pistol. Yusuke has, oh my God, Yusuke has an AK and a fucking katana. But I do like how I do like Yusuke as a character, and he is my favorite persona user. Now, my favorite female, and this might come as a surprise because in my video, as part of my videos in the past, I've been talking a lot of shit about her. My favorite female persona user in this game is Makoto, and I can explain why too. Okay, so Makoto does have a great story change. Like the arcs of her story are good. She really wants to help Aiko out. She slapped the hell out of that hoe when she refused, when she got called a bitch by her. Really liked that. And when she found out who we were, we helped her change Kanashiro's heart, and she didn't tell on us. In fact, she actually joined us and became our advisor because she kind of liked our idea of justice. I really, really like that. She was like, okay, I don't want to be just a lapdog to people who I think are right. I know it's right, and I'm gonna go towards the people who know what's right because I know it's right. I'm not gonna follow what other people think is right. This is what's right to me. They have the same ideals as me. I'm gonna join them. And that's why I like Makoto so much. More than everyone else. I mean, so if you don't think I don't like Makoto that much, think about all the females with the exception of Sumire, because Sumire is actually pretty good. She's really kind, but the thing is that she has a lot of trauma for me to actually like her as a character. But Makoto has had a good development. She's had a little less bit of a development than Futaba, but her development from going from a lapdog, a spy, to a self-sufficient persona user who thinks for herself and who wants to like let that rebel out. Hey, I like it. All right, now it's time for the final part of the Persona Awards. And now then I'm gonna move on to, you know, the other parts of this. Like I'm gonna move on to the confidants after this. All right, so I did say that I was gonna do a whole section or scenario on who I think would be good for Joker, right? And since I was playing as Joker, I think the best choice for Joker essentially is a tie. I would think it would be between Yoshizawa and Makoto. Makoto's smart enough and she doesn't have that much experience in love to be more of like the whole cheating type. But Yoshizawa, she is kind, she is good, but I think she's more subservient. If you look back at the time where I was playing the Valentine's Day episode and everyone got cheated on, so I had to go back and play it twice because if you noticed, and I think I made mention of it, Yoshizawa wasn't actually in the group of girls the first time. I think that was a glitch. But what she ends up saying, if you would have saw it in the New Game Shenanigans video, she had said, oh, if there's something going on, I'd like you to tell me. She was like subservient to say, oh, I'm so upset, I'm so sad. I'm like, girl, I'm literally cheating on you with like 8 or 9 different women. Like I would have been more upset if I was her. But Makoto was arguably upset, and I think she really liked Joker because people like An, like if like An's a model, obviously guys would go for her. Yoshizawa's an athlete, obviously guys would go for her. All these people have guys going after them, and it's like, oh, you can be upset, however, like, you can get somebody else. Makoto's new to the whole love thing, so she probably would have given more love to Joker initially. So I think it's a tie between Yoshizawa and Makoto. The reason why I picked Yoshizawa, even though she is subservient, she seems like she's like the most loyal person out of everybody that Joker could date. Well, it's between her and Hifume, the chess girl. So yeah, I would think it's a tie between those two, more going a little bit towards Makoto being the right one for Joker. So yeah, that's what I think. Also, as for least favorite, I think you guys already know, I don't like Morgana, I don't like An. Both of them I don't like, right? Point blank period. Morgana is just an asshole, and An, both of them are arrogant. That's the main reason why I don't like them. Both of them are arrogant. Ryuji's arrogant, but in a playful way. And you can say An is kind, but An is not really, you know, a good character in my opinion, because I think her arrogance overtops or overshadows basically everything of her Because, as I said before, she's a character that says, I couldn't fit in school because I was too attractive. And I couldn't fit in with the attractive people because I was so attractive. So I'm like, so you're just saying you couldn't fit, you're just saying you have this miserable backstory because you're too attractive? Like, nah, B. I don't like that. Now, this is the last part of the hero section. This is the best persona. Now, the best persona, I'm going to be rating it more on combat than actual design. Just to get it out the way, my favorite design, Ryuji's. Ryuji's persona is a pirate. I really love pirates. Really love like the battleships and all that. He has the best design, but I will have to give the best combat persona to a persona that I've had for probably the longest time in this game. And if you notice, if you understood and paid attention to the video, you probably know who this persona is, basically. This persona is Ragda. Ragda is, okay, even though I made him to be made him or her, I would think it's theoretically a her, or whatever you want to call it. I made it so that it's basically invincible. It has only one weakness, which is thunder. It blocks gun, physical attacks, it absorbs curse, it blocks wind, fire, and ice. It only has one weakness. Do you guys remember that time I went up against Akechi for the first time? Like, I faced him for the first time, and I sent out Ragda. And what ended up happening is that every time he hit me, it either got absorbed or blocked. It got absorbed, blocked, or reflected. Like, he reflected all of his physical attacks, blocked the gun attacks, absorbed the curse attacks. The only two things that can hit Ragda is a super effective electric move or a normally effective divine move, because divine moves can't be resisted against, or there's no super effective. It will do the same damage every single time. So that's essentially what it was. So you would have to have a skill that goes through blocking to hit it. And I can just send him out and just I could be an assistant to everyone else, because they have to kill me in order for them to win. And if they don't know any thunder type moves and they know a lot of physical moves, I will block all of their attacks and reflect it back on them. So Ragda is my favorite because I think I made him that way. Now it's time to move on to the confidant portion of the video. So I've had a good relationship with all the confidants, well, most of them anyway, and I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna give you the awards for the most useful confidant ability, my favorite confidant, and the best story. All right, so I'm just gonna go and kick it off by telling you the most useful confidant. Now, before I get into this part of the video is only about confidants, but I just wanted to throw it out there, right? Ryuji's confidant ability to one-shot enemies without going into battle is the most helpful. I'm not putting it in this section because he's not a confidant. He is theoretically, but I'm talking about the non-persona using confidants. But his confidant ability that allows me to walk up to people and one-shot them is the reason why I ended the game at level 99, I think. I think I was with 99 at that point, but I ended the game at level 99. That's the max level because of that ability. I walked up to people that I was way stronger than, used the ability, one-shot at them, and I was able to complete like 10 battles like in under like 7 minutes, or even under 3 minutes, because I was so powerful. And that helped me get a lot of experience and money, especially because in the metaverse, I multiplied my experience to the very top. So I was getting a whole lot of experience just back to back to back. and that's how I was able to grow and to do all the stuff I wanted to do in the game. His is the most useful. He's just not he's a persona using confidant, so I can't include him. But there's a tie. The two most useful personas, or the two most useful confidant abilities are, I'm forgetting her name. Her name escapes me. The fortune teller girl, and the fortune teller girl, and the baddest one in this game, in my opinion. What's her name? The teacher, it's Mrs. or Miss. What's her name? Kawakami. Kawakami, in my opinion, baddest one of the game, hands down. However, or not however, but her skill that you get from her, or throughout the whole maid arc or whatever, very useful. So I'm gonna start off with the fortune teller girl. Hers is useful because you can actually get free fortune telling. You can use her confidant ability to upgrade other confidant abilities. Like if you wanted to get a confidant ability, all you need to do is go to her and she'll raise it for, she'll be able to help you raise it. The final one, you can actually find the answer that's best suited to raise the confidant level. And I like that. I really like that. That's useful. But Kawakami's one, I'm able to go out. I'm able to get a massage, go out at night, and have her do things for me. Do you know what that means? If I go into the metaverse, I can actually go to the store and stock up on stuff that I need right after that. That saves and gives me so much time to spend with other people that I essentially don't really need to waste a lot of time trying to wait till tomorrow, because Morgana's like, oh, you just got out the metaverse, let's go ahead and go to sleep. Kawakami can come over, give me a massage, I can go out at night. Best ability hands down, or best two abilities. Now I'm gonna go on to my least favorite story arc. I'm gonna start off with that. My least favorite story arc would have to be the public speaking president who was accused of stealing money, or he was accused of being corrupt. I didn't really like his. I mean, his skills were essentially just negotiating with personas, and his storyline about him trying to redeem himself. I mean, bro, that is kind of your fault. So you did do that. You're just trying to make amends for it. So I don't know what you want me to do. I mean, I could have just kept walking past. He's not really useful to me in any way, but it's whatever. My favorite story, like my favorite line of stories, is in Awai, the gun guy from the gun guy that you can give like you trade stuff to, you can get guns from. His is the best because his son is essentially, he found out he has a son, but he's a part of the Yakuza. He's trying to be like a good dad, and after getting out of this illegal business, but he's trying to raise his son and trying to bond with his son because he's a really good person. I mean, he was a part of the Yakuza, but he's a good person. I'm not going to front. His skills are pretty good, but his story arc, that story arc with him and his son and him trying to be a good dad, or him trying to deal with his Yakuza business, pretty good. I like it. And a close runner-up, Hifume, where she was essentially trying to be she was trying to show her shogi skills, but I think the whole issue was her mom was fixing all her matches, but she didn't want to live under her mom's thumb, so she actually played a professional and lost. But hey, I like her story. Now, my favorite person, confidant-wise. So this is the person who's my favorite guy, girl, whatever. It's not that the story arc is bad or it's good. It's a person that I personally would resonate and I would like to meet. And even though I talk so much shit about this person, even though I used to talk so much shit about this person from the beginning, he grew on me, and I do understand some of the stuff he's been through. Mishima. Mishima is my favorite person out of all the confidants, because he was going through an arc where he wanted to be seen. He found meaning in helping the Phantom Thieves, which I don't really know how he was able to figure it out off rip like that, like it was just us or it was me. But Mishima's a really good person. I think he just wanted to be seen. He was tired of living under Kamoshida's thumb. We helped him, and he just wanted to help us back. He found meaning in making the fan site, and he was able to help us get jobs or whatever, change people's hearts, and he really wanted to work with us or as close to us as possible. And he was able to do that without having a persona, right? But a close second is Sojiro. Now, I've spent the most time with Sojiro. I think Sojiro is like the most person that I would see in the game, the most common confidant, because he would always be at the in LeBlanc when I would come back. But his story arc is good too. We learned a lot about him. At the beginning of the game, we didn't know he had a daughter. We didn't know he was trying to fight for custody. We didn't know that he was a government official who knew Shido before that. We had all this good information, and he went from an adult that was tired and who didn't even want me in his house to somebody who was literally crying that I was leaving. So yeah, good person. And all these people deserve the awards that they get. Now, I'm gonna move on to the last section of the video. And this last section is, I think, gonna be probably my favorite. This last section is the palaces and enemies, right? So Goro Akechi is on this list, but Medjed and the whole Futaba arc story is not on this list, right? So, because Medjed wasn't real in the first place. It was just made by some people who didn't really have any evil motives towards us, right? So, as to remind you, the 4 ranking systems is the highest ranking, excellence. The third from the third from the bottom, effort. Second from the bottom, motions. First from the bottom, off track. If you would like to know an average, excellence would be 4. Motions would be 3. No, off track would be 1. Motions would be 2, and effort will be 3. So, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and rate them based off of motive and their motive of being evil and the path that they got there. So I'm going to start with at the top. I'm going to start at the best villains, and I'm going to finish at the worst villains. And as the worst villains, that means villains that I don't really understand why they're evil, and they're just being evil to be evil. So the first person on this list, which I think has a good motive and a good way of getting to what this person wants, is Sai Nijima. Now, people might not agree with me, but just hold on for a second. Sai Nijima, I rate her motive and the path to getting to where she wanted to go as both excellence. I would say a mid excellence, not a high excellence, because if you think about what she's trying to do, she's just a lawyer or a prosecutor wanting to arrest these group of people they call thieves, because they're going around changing people's hearts, because they have the ability to make people confess to certain things. So this could be used for evil. She doesn't really know or understand if the Phantom Thieves are evil, and you can just say that her heart really got corrupted. Her heart was mainly corrupted when Okumura died. So she believed that Okumura was killed by the Phantom Thieves, but we all know that it was Akechi who did that to frame the Phantom Thieves. So the head of the SIU wanted Sai to go and find these Phantom Thieves, and she would get a promotion after that. Now, if you think about it, if you were a prosecutor and your job was to catch somebody who was assumed to murder somebody, and if you would have caught that person, you would be promoted to a job. Wouldn't you take that as being a prosecutor? If she would do this, she has a great motive to herself to help. She can basically help herself, give herself a better life, and be higher up in the job that she studied so hard for. So I do think that her motive is excellence, and the way that she got there was excellence too. Because Akechi was like, oh, she's willing to frame evidence to like lock somebody up. But at the same time, we can't really trust Akechi at that point, because Akechi was the one doing all this shit, so we can't really trust him on that. But framing evidence, like, come on, that's not as bad as all the other people on this list, in my opinion. Like, framing evidence is like, okay, she's willing to frame somebody for it, but then if the Phantom Thieves keep changing hearts, then she's going to be known as a failure, obviously. So I don't really think she'll actually frame evidence or plant evidence or just frame somebody for a crime, because if they pick the wrong person and they throw them in jail, the Phantom Thieves still could change hearts, and she's going to be seen as like a disgrace. So she's going to get fired either way. So I don't think she would honestly change evidence or alter the truth for that, because I think she's too more into her own justice for that. But yeah, she will be the best villain, with both categories being excellence. Next on this list, with second place, is Maruki. Now, people can say, oh, he has a good motive. Yes, his motive is good, but the way he gets to his motive is not as good. He's not trying to show everyone the ways that being evil is bad. He's just saying people won't understand, so I'm just going to change their attitude forcefully to show them that being evil is bad. He's not telling people being evil is bad. He's putting everyone in a world where he can change everyone's mindset forcefully to make them good. Even though it's good in theory and it sounds good when you say it, when you really think about it, it's essentially mind control. You're living in an alternate world controlled by one person, and if whatever he thinks is evil or whatever he thinks is wrong will be wiped out of existence completely. So the thing of right and wrong is based off of the person controlling it. Say for instance, a person wanted to do something bad, right? But it wasn't that bad. Let's say that a person was jaywalking, right? A person started to jaywalk across the street, and then Maruki didn't like that. He would think that that person is evil. So instead of changing his mind to make it so that they're not evil, because Maruki is essentially fulfilling his wish, and if that person jaywalking leads to something bad or leads to hurting people, and he can't fix him, he's just gonna wipe him out of existence, because he's basically just a blot in that world. So what's right and what's wrong is solely based off of Maruki's decision. What if everyone that came up to him wanted to be rich? Could he just make everyone rich? That wouldn't make sense, because that would break the economy. And this relates to what The Incredibles. It relates to what happened on The Incredibles, where Syndrome said, if everyone's super, no one will be. Just like in this example, if he makes everyone in the world rich, no one in the world's going to be rich. So he shouldn't change the mindset of people to make it seem like they're good. Just make everyone see that what they're doing is bad. That's why the Phantom Thieves are doing what they do, because they can force people to confess to their crimes, to bear the sins of what they're doing, to bear that guilt. and they can't take the guilt anymore, so then they start to change and confess, because their heart is distorted by desires, and once that distortion becomes a palace, they go into the palace, take the treasure, and then their heart goes back to normal. They're not forcing them to become good, they're just taking out the thing that forces them to do these bad things. So even though Maruki's motive is, I would say, low excellence, I would say his is about a really low excellence, but his motive is mid excellence, right? That's what I believe. All right, third on this list is Akechi, Goro Akechi. And I would assume that, oh, he's a villain, what he did, he should be lower on the list. But I don't think he should be lower on the list. So what I think is Akechi, I would rate his motive as effort, and I would also rate his way to get to his motive. I would say the reasoning for him being distorted as like a really low, that's like a really high emotions, right? So I would think that Akechi at the end would join with the Phantom Thieves to help take down his dad. But what he did was he said, this person ruined my life. My mom had died. He never took care of me. I went from foster home to foster home until I learned to be on my own. I started to study. Then I got this power to change people's hearts and make people have a mental shutdown. And now I'm gonna go and take revenge on my dad. I like a good revenge story, but the way he did it was he was essentially said, no one's gonna stop me. I'm gonna do what I want. And then if people have to die for me to get what I want, people have to die. That's why I say it's a low emotions. Now, he's killed people. And you're wondering, oh, everyone on this list hasn't killed anybody. So that wouldn't make sense. No one on this list has killed anybody. No one under Akechi, like some of these villains, they don't kill people. They've just been doing A, B, and C. They've been doing blah, 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 blah. But you have to realize something, that dying instantly, in my opinion, dying instantly is worse than living bad or living in a bad world. So I was saying, would you want to die and take the pain away? Or secondly, would you want to live in a world that's bad? It's kind of like saying, if you were in hell and you had the choice to go to oblivion where you don't feel anything, or you had the choice to stay in hell, what would you do? Would you just become non-existent, or would you stay alive, suffering for eternity? I think being alive in a bad world, or in a world this bad, is a bad idea, in my opinion. Honestly, I'm not saying that the world is bad to where people, the only way to do it is to like just, do unspeakable things. I'm just saying, if people were put into a position where they were to either live or take the pain away, it's kind of like saying he was in so much pain, and I'm really glad that he was able to rest in peace. It's kind of like that, right? So think about that when I'm going further down on this list. All right, the next person on this list, Shido. Off bat, Shido's motive to becoming evil, I would say, is mid-effort, right? The motive is mid-effort, but the reason why he's this low is because the way that he did it is essentially motions. It's not that good. It's questionable. So if you think about it, I'm gonna start with what Shido wanted to do, right? He wanted to steer the country in the right direction. He has a good motive. He wants to make the country good. I'm not gonna say make the country great again, because I don't want this video to become political. But anyway, he wanted to make the country great, and he was willing to do anything to do that. I mean, anything. What he did was he's a culprit into a conspiracy of murder. He used Akechi, targeted people. He targeted his opponents that didn't agree with him, had them killed, put Joker in the situation that he was in the game, had a hand at murdering Futaba's mother. He's basically the highest conspirator to the Phantom Thieves case because he really wanted them gone, right? He was the reason that he was the one who called the school, called Principal Kobayakawa to let Makoto know to spy on the Phantom Thieves. He did all this stuff just so that he can make the country good. He wanted to steer the country in the right direction, and essentially he used other people for murder. He said, okay, I don't like this person, I want you to kill them. All right, I'll go ahead and do that. He was planning on getting rid of Akechi after the election, and he sort of knew that was his son because he said he looked like his mother. So he had a inkling that Akechi was his son, but he was still willing to use him and kill him for it. But the motive that he has is he wanted to make the country great. So I can't say that he has a bad motive, right? So that's the whole issue with Shido. He has a good motive, but his way to get there is sketchy. Next is going to be Kaneshiro. Now, think about this. Kaneshiro is an actual evil person, right? He knows he's evil. He's not trying to front saying, I'm doing this for a great purpose. That's why he's this low. Because he's evil, but he's not a person fronting. He's not putting up a front that he's good. He's not trying to make it seem that he's doing the good thing. He knows what he's doing is evil, but he keeps doing it for greed, right? So Kaneshiro is the head of the Japanese or the Tokyo Mafia, the Yakuza, right? He makes a lot of money, but he hasn't resorted to murder. He resorts to blackmail and phishing scams or whatever. And the reason why I put him this low is that he targets children, right? He targets children who are afraid that their future will be ruined by Kaneshiro. So I would say Kaneshiro as a person, motions. Because Kaneshiro can't be effort because he's not putting any effort into fronting that he's a good person. He knows he's evil. That's why I'm putting him at motions. But the purpose of being evil and the road he takes to get there, I would say that's emotions too. I mean, what else is there to say? He's evil. He's not trying to cover anything up. He's not doing it for a better cause. I know when I was talking to his inner self, he was basically doing it because he wanted to be seen, he wanted to get money, he wanted to have power. It was basically just the typical person who wanted greed and he wanted to do anything to get to that place. The reason why he's this low is because he's an actual criminal, but he's not at the bottom because he's not putting up a front that he's good, right? So that's why Kaneshiro is this low. Next on my list is, and I think there's this one and about two more. So the third one on this list is Okumura. Okumura is essentially a bad boss. Okumura is just a bad boss, and it's like he's saying, oh, I'm gonna sell my company to go into the political realm. And I'm like, okay, and that's his company. He can do with his company what he wants, right? He can do whatever he wants with his company. It's his company. There's no reason for him to like front to say, oh, he's a bad person. He shouldn't be doing this with blah, 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 blah. He's essentially a bad boss. Oh, it's like, oh, he confessed that all the sanitation crimes were his doing. He knew about it, he just covered it up. But he never really resorted to murder. He is this low, however, for the same reason Kaneshiro was as low as he is, because of the bad things he did to children, let alone his own child. He sold off Haru to a man just so that he can have a better connection. Haru was getting ready to get married to a person that she doesn't want to get married to. That's his own fucking daughter. He gets married. He wants Haru to get married to this guy who is a complete asshole, and he ends up not marrying her because at the end of Haru's little side story, the person who was trying Haru's coffee had said, "Hey, I like this." And then Haru was like, "I don't want to get married to this guy. Can you please do that for me?" And it's like, well, the thing is, have you seen a contract? She's like, "No," because I haven't seen it either. So he's probably just lying to use you. And then she's decided not to marry. The guy or whatever, and go on a date with the boy, Joker. But going back to Okumura, he's essentially just a bad boss who wants to sell his company so he can go into politics. I have no reason why I would think he would do anything bad, because he hasn't shown to murder anybody. He's just a bad boss. I don't know why he wants to go into politics or why he wants to do all of this stuff or whatever, but I would say that he is low motions, because he is putting up a front that he's a good person, but however, the way that he gets there is high off track. It's high off track, because essentially what he does is he attempts to sell his own family member to this one asshole guy, and so that he can get more connections. He covers up everything just so he can get more money and power. That's why he's this low. And one of the reasons is that he also hurt a Phantom Thief, which is Haru or whatever, and homeboy who was getting ready to get married to Haru actually kicked Morgana. Look, I don't like Morgana, but you shouldn't be kicking Morgana like that. I mean, come on now. But that's why Okumura is that low. Second on this list, second from the bottom, is Madarame. I'm gonna start off with Madarame's ranking, right? Madarame is the motive that he wanted to become evil is off track. However, him as a person and the way that he gets to being evil is, I would say, not as bad, but it's like high off track. He's essentially just an opportunist. It's bad, but he's doing his bad, but he's an opportunist. Sure, Yusuke's mom did die. He did witness Yusuke's mom dying, but it's not like he killed her, right? He could have called the ambulance. He didn't. Saw talent in Yusuke, raised that talent, cultivated that talent so Yusuke can't leave, gave him trauma, and that was raps. But I'm putting him this low because he could have changed Yusuke's life for the better. He didn't have to plagiarize his work. He didn't have to lie to everybody to get where he needs to go. He could have called the ambulance to rescue Yusuke's mom and she would have still been alive. He could have let Yusuke leave, but he didn't. All of this was because of greed, fame, and he really wanted to be that big artist, and he didn't really have any talent, so he basically used his work as he used Yusuke's work, the Sayuri. I think that was Yusuke's mom's portrait. He used Yusuke's mom's portrait. His mom had died. Took the credit for her work, and did the same thing with Yusuke. But he's not as bad because Yusuke could have left. He didn't have to. He just felt indebted to him. He could have left, but the thing is, he couldn't leave as well because he was so indebted to him. That's why he's this low. So the final one, the final person on this list, the lowest of the low, is Kamoshida. Both of his methods are off track. Him as a person is off track, and the way that he got there is off track. right? I don't really understand why he's evil in the first place. It said he was hanging on to his past glory, but what is he doing? If you want to hang on to your past glory, all you need to do is make a volleyball team. That's it. You didn't have to beat any of the students. You didn't have to date any of the students. You were blackmailing the students, abusing the students, hurting the students, and the thing is, Principal Kobayakawa knew all this was happening and covered it all up because he wanted to focus more on getting the school to where it needed to be. So, unlike Madarame and Yusuke, those students couldn't leave. They had to stay with the school because if they left the school, if they got suspended, they couldn't go to any other school in the nation. So they had to deal with Kamoshida's bullshit and deal with it until they graduated. It was so much that Shiho almost unalived herself. And An had to date Kamoshida so that Shiho can get what she wants. Kamoshida said, if you date me, I'm gonna go ahead and give Shiho what she wants. I'll give her a spot on the volleyball team. And then when he felt like it, he called her to the office and started beating her. So, but I'm actually glad they took Kamoshida down, right? So, my favorite person is, Sai. She's the best. She's the one that I understand the most. My least favorite, Kamoshida. And also to add this in here, my favorite palace design, I've actually taken some thought or consideration into this. My favorite palace design would have to be Okumura's. So when people are saying, "Oh, Okumura is such a hard boss. He's such a hard boss," I'm like, he wasn't that hard when I fought him. I don't know why, but he wasn't that hard when I fought him. The hardest boss that I fought was Kamoshida because, the hardest boss is probably like the god of control, but Kamoshida, I didn't really know what I was doing at the start of the game. So when I faced Kamoshida, it just seemed hopeless that I was gonna win against him, but I didn't know what I was doing until I found strategies in order to beat him. And I did. So the best palace in terms of design is probably Okumura's palace. I like his palace. I like the outer space theme. I like going through those portals. I like the enemies, stuff like that. It's very entertaining. And it seems like it's short. Plus, with the robot enemies, you can essentially find out what their weaknesses is just by looking at them and remembering, and you can know what the weaknesses are of the other characters if you pay attention. So his is my favorite palace. But my least favorite palace and my least favorite boss battle, unfortunately, would have to be Sai Nijima's palace. Her palace is essentially just getting coins, doing this. I know it's a casino, but come on now. Like, I could be doing something else at this time, but hers was just so confusing because it's just, oh, go here, go get these coins, go do this. And her boss battle was annoying too because she kept changing types. Like it was nuclear, then divine, then it was gun, then it was fire. Oh my god. I didn't like it. I didn't like her palace. Hers was like the most annoying to me. Thank you all so much for sticking with me through the end of this video. So I really like Persona 5. I watched the anime. My friend got it for me. Kaze, if you're out there, thank you so much for getting me this game. I really liked it. Really, the experience on this game was great. It's kind of like Pokemon, like with super effective moves, not super effective moves, moves that are immune, things like that. So it's like type advantages and stuff like that, but it had a better storyline than Pokemon. If Persona 6 comes out, I will definitely be playing it, but, and this relates to what's going to happen in a few seconds, until then, I'm going to start another series. So, without further ado, here is this is a future episode. The first episode of my newest series on this channel, Persona 5 Strikers. So who am I gonna raise up first?
You're the one we're most curious about. You doing okay back home?
Now, y'all left me with Morgana, bro. How do you think it is?
What a coinky dink. Me too.
Well, I've been getting by too. Without you around, it's sort of like stuff is just kind of bleh.
Yeah, we ain't beating nobody's asses now.
Of course. He's our leader. It's only natural. That's right.
Man, get off my dick.
Once a phantom thief, always a phantom thief.
Well, I'd say we start coming up with summer vacation plans. Anyone have any ideas?
I thought we knew what we were gonna do.
We should figure that stuff out.
I thought we figured that out already. I thought we knew what we were gonna do.
To stay here through all of vacation, right?
Well, how about a trip, guys? Come on, we've got a whole month to raid.
Y'all got a month of
Aren't
summer
you
vacation?
forgetting about your homework? Blah.